Hi there everyone, this is a short video to kind of recap on where we're up to so far in our series in Isaiah chapter 61. I'm really enjoying it so far. I wonder how you're getting on with it. The chapter starts by focusing on who this sent messenger is. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me because he has anointed me, and later he has sent me. It's very focused on this one that will be sent by God on mission. And then you get the why. Why has he been sent? Well, he's been sent to proclaim good news to the poor. And then in the sentences that follow, we have the what this one will achieve, really reflecting good news and poor in other terms. So like this, he sent me to bind up, good news, the brokenhearted, the poor, to proclaim freedom for the captives, release from darkness for the prisoners, to comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who grieve in Zion. And then there are three insteads that sort of wrap up to that point. Three insteads to contrast how they were and how they will be. In verse 3, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. There's an absolute and utter transformation going to happen because of the coming of the Anointed One who will proclaim good news to the poor. And then there's a statement at the end of verse 3 that describes who these people are. What God has done in them has made them this. Their identity gets dramatically transformed. They will be called oaks of righteousness. They certainly didn't feel like that at the time. A planting of the Lord. They'd been really fruitless, but they're going to be fruitful for the display of his splendor, which was always God's plan for his people, but they'd failed him utterly in representing him well to the world. Now they'll be for the display of his splendor. It's absolutely magnificent. And as we read Isaiah 61, we have to remember that there are three stages, three levels at which we're looking at this passage. The first is, of course, that Isaiah 61 is spoken by Isaiah in his day, and particularly to the people who would later be in exile. There's a message of great hope that's coming, despite the fact that you will be in exile, taken away, God's judgment on you because of your sin, and you're now living in an enemy land. There is hope, which is great news, isn't it? There's always hope with our great God. But then Jesus applies it to himself. That's level or stage 2. So Luke chapter 4 records this, that Jesus is going around Galilee, he's preaching in all the synagogues, and he comes one day to Nazareth, where he lives, comes back there, and he teaches in that synagogue. And Luke chapter 4 says this, as was his custom, he went to the synagogue, and he stood up to read, and the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him. Unrolling it, he found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor," and so on. Jesus read that section, and then it says this in Luke chapter 4, then he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. And there's like this dramatic pause. Luke says, the eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him, and he began to speak by saying to them, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." It's an absolutely extraordinary statement. Jesus is saying all of this, it's me. It's spoken about me. And of course we know from understanding Jesus and the Gospels and the rest of the New Testament that everything that was promised in the Old Testament is ultimately fulfilled in, pointing to, realized in Jesus, as is the case here. And then stage 3, because of course, just as Jesus was sent by God on this mission, Jesus sends us on his mission. His mission is extended through us. Good news to the poor, to those who will recognize that they need God. That's going to be extended through the church now. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. We are part of this message too. We're not improving it as if Jesus had a go and now it's us, but his ministry, his mission, his message through us. It's so exciting. It's a fantastic chapter, and may you have a great time discussing it, praying into it, and encouraging each other with this mission that God has got for us.